Hi, can everybody hear me now? Hi, good morning, everyone. Hope everybody can see the screen clearly. So today we want to share a bit about our relief work in South Asia during the second wave of COVID. So the theme that we had chosen was the time between each breath. And throughout this theme, we will discuss why we have chosen this theme and how it relates to the work that we have done in South Asia. So when we take a look at the second wave, this is actually in the first country in South Asia that was hit by the second wave, which was India. And we can see here that you can see the peak in the second wave, which is very large. In May, it was actually the peak of the wave, which was every day there was many new cases, more than 400,000 new cases each day. And the total COVID cases was 34 million people with deaths. And also now we can see that although there's a lot of vaccination happening, but only 1/5 of the population is actually fully vaccinated. So during that time, it was very hard and it was very difficult. And so when we talked to our founder, Dharma Master Zheng Yan, and she gave us these words, and these words are the words that have led us to doing this relief work. So Master told us that life exists between each breath. So what is needed the most is to provide them with the means to breathe, to support them in this critical time. But how can we do that when we don't really know what's happening there and we're not very familiar with that location and that area? And we can see that it was actually increasing. Not only was India hit by this wave of COVID, but we can see Nepal, Bhutan, we can see Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Laos, and Cambodia. They were all hit by the same wave. And many more people were dying and many more people were affected by COVID. So with a combined population of 1.6 billion people, what is it that we can actually do? And what can City do? And what do these people need? So working with our local partners, in total, we were able to donate more than 16,000 medical devices and more than 9.5 pieces of PPE equipment to more than 500 organizations, including hospitals, medical institutions and clinics, and also educational clinics, even to the people on the streets as well. And City's relief collaboration, working with our various organizations and partners, we were able to reach out to 355,000 families, benefiting over 1.5 million people. So this is a lot of people, and there were not a lot of volunteers at these locations and these areas and these countries. So how do we actually reach these people? Master always tells us that we must trust and believe in people. So in the face of suffering, we can see that Bodhisattvas will emerge from the ground. Where do they come from? We don't know. Maybe it's that love and that compassion that we have within that has touched the Buddhas above, and they can see that we want to do something to help those in need. So when we ask for help, when we ask for support, we can see that people come and people respond, and people are willing to join us. And so these are all the things that we're able to donate, and many more as well. So we can see that there's ambulances, there's generators, there's food, and there's also concentrators and a lot of PPE. So today because there's 7 countries, but today we will only focus on 2 of these countries. So we'll focus on India and we'll focus on Nepal. So when we move to India, we can see that in India, we don't have a lot of local volunteers. So we had to work with a lot of different organizations. And here we can see that the organizations we work with, there are City volunteers, there are Buddhist organizations, Catholics, Christians, Islamic organization. So it is not about religion, but it is about the power of love, because universal love is everywhere. And as long as we can have love and we can have trust in people, we are able to work with them and we are able to support them. So how do we work in collaboration with organizations that we've never met and never seen or never heard of at all? So this is one of the Buddhist organizations that we were able to work with. So this monastery is a Tibetan monastery, Buddhist monastery, and they are located in the northern states of India, so closer to the mountainous areas of India. And every time, actually, we met them for the first time last year when we collaborated in the first wave of COVID. And at that time, through our meetings and our communications with them, we were able to understand each other. And so we moved from agreeing on what we wanted to give to people, to actually putting it in action. So it was very important for us to understand each other's methods and philosophies. And because we're not in the local area, we relied and we were able to understand from their local knowledge of these from this monastery, and they were able to tell us what it is that these people actually needed. So what kind of food they ate, and do they need PPE, or do they need other support apart from foods? And in turn, we were able to share some of our knowledge as well. So how do we organize relief work, and how do we make sure that we are adhering to these COVID protocols? So we can see here that from the start, we were able to talk to them about making name lists and being able to visit these families to see their needs. And to on the day, we were able to have these name cards where we are able to say that this person is this family, so that they can get these relief aids and nobody missed out. And we were able to see that from these communications and our discussions, we really wanted to know what it is that these people are able to carry home with them. So, for example, we wanted to donate more than 1 week's worth of food. We wanted to donate 1 to 3 months worth of food. But for these people living in these areas, it was very hard for them to carry these aids. So what we did was actually the monastery were able to hire and were able to help local taxis as well by asking them to come and transporting these families with their food back to their homes. So we can see that every action that we take, although we are not there in person, but Tzu we can work with our partners so that we show these people love, gratitude, and respect. So here we can see that although one person, we're not able to do much, but together we can do more. So in the initial cooperation, we're able to assist 200 households. But in this year, we were able to assist so much more. Over 2,000 households was assisted, and along with a lot of other individuals as well. So this is not the only faith organization that we worked with. We actually had the opportunity to work with Catholic organizations as well. So here are 3 of the Catholic organizations that we worked with. So Sneha Charitable Trust from St. Camillus, and we were able to work with St. Vincent de Paul and Missionaries of Charity, which was Mother Teresa House. So when we worked with Sneha Charitable Trust, actually, it was quite difficult at first because time, place, language, and faith are not all the same. And it was very difficult to communicate with them. But as long as our heart to help those are all the same, then these barriers can be overcome and we are able to work together. So when we talked to Father Baby, which was the president of Sneha Charitable Trust, he gave us these words. He said, "We give our lives to serve people as fathers, as doctors, nurses, medical staff, and as volunteers. This is our mission." And this really, really touched me. And at the same time, it really reflected on our missions as well. So when Master Zhenyan was certified ordained by Venerable Yin Sun, he gave those 6 words: for Buddhist teachings and for all sentient beings. So these are the vows that we follow, and these really reflect upon the same vows that the chameleon fathers follow as well. So we have to give for Buddhism, and also we have to give for all sentient beings and serve people to the best of our abilities. So with Sneha Charitable Trust, we were able to hold distributions in 17 states across India to help the needy and poor this year. So we can see that in the southern states and also up north and in the central states where COVID was hit the most. And how they did that was actually they worked with a lot of local churches and hospitals to distribute. So here we can see that distribution was not only food, but it was educational support, it was caring visits, it was medical clinics, and also medical equipment as well. So whatever the people needed, we were able to assist, and we were able to go there and ask them and to talk to them and to be able to show emotional support. So Father Baby told us, and throughout our discussions, we said, as long as we need to be there, we will be there. And this is our promise. So we can see from January this year to September, we have been helping many families in many states. And not only are we helping the poor and needy, we are also helping the doctors, the nurses, and also the churches and the faith workers that are on the front lines as well. So why do we need these collaboration, and why is collaboration so important? So I'd like to share a little story. It's a story about an ambulance. So this is the ambulance that we donated to to Sneha Charitable Trust, and it was used in one of their centers for the disabled children and the special children. So when we actually first donated the ambulance, Father Baby told us that he was going to go there to see the ambulance. And then he sent this photo back to us, and it was a photo of him blessing the ambulance. So we asked him, so why are we, this is just an ambulance, it's a vehicle. So why are we blessing this vehicle? And Father Baby told us, he said, this is not just an ambulance. It's a bus that can take our children to school. So it's a bus that can take our children out of this home and to the world, so they can connect with the world, they can see the world, and they can find education and to inspire them to do more. It's not just a bus. It is a taxi to take the poor and the sick to the hospital for ongoing treatments. So many of these people living in slums, they might have diabetes, they might have HIV/AIDS, but they can't go to the hospital because they have no transportation. So using this ambulance, they can drive these people to the hospital so that they can get the ongoing treatments, so that they can go to work and be able to provide for their families and have the dignity to say that they are healthy and they are able to keep living a good life. It is not just an ambulance, it's a vehicle to transport our doctors and medical staff and equipment to serve in the slums. So without these medical clinics, a lot of the people in the slums will not have treatment. And it might be just something as simple as treating a wounded leg, or maybe their teeth needed some work. But because they can't go to the hospitals, or they don't have the money to do so, that these problems become an ongoing problem, and it becomes worse. So they're not able to work anymore, or they're not able to eat. And this actually changes their daily lives. So this ambulance is not just an ambulance. Instead, Father Baby told us that it's a vehicle of hope and a vehicle of love. And it is a vehicle that for them is living. It's not just a vehicle that we can use and we can discard. So that's why this ambulance is so much more for them. And they said that when they go out to these places, as you can see here, it says donated by Buddhist Tiji Foundation. And why they do that is that because they want these people to know that it is not love from one person or two people. It is love from a community, two communities, and it is love from different faiths. So when they're serving people from the Islamic community or other communities, they can say that it's okay that we're from different faiths because love is universal and love is everywhere. So as Master Zheng Yin tells us, one day the material aid that we provide will be used up, but the love and care will always be felt. So when we go to these places, we also want to bring the power of faith and prayers. So every time in these prayers, our chameleon fathers and our Buddhist monasteries, we will pray with them and we will let them know that this pandemic will pass and we will get better. So Master Zheng Yin tells us that religion teaches us love, may it be benevolence or universal, compassionate or great love. It is all the same love, a selfless love without boundaries, without discrimination over ethnicity and over religion. So this is some of the things that we have been doing with our interfaith communities, and we hope to continue this interfaith community sharing throughout our times. So I would like to pass the baton on to Natalia, who will share a bit about working in the birthplace of Buddha.
Good morning, everyone, Master and Master of the Boat, and to all our brothers and sisters in Philippines. So it is actually my pleasure today to be able to share to everyone on Tzu Chi's footprints at the birthplace of Buddha and our relief work during the second wave of the COVID-19 pandemic. Oh, okay. So after the COVID-19 outbreak last year, Tzu Chi have already provided aid to Nepal from the most needed medical protective equipment such as our surgical masks, PPE coveralls, and much more to mention, to also food aid relief across the four provinces in Nepal. So we are truly grateful to all the volunteers in Nepal for their support to allow Tzu Chi to be able to provide food aid relief, where 40,000 food packages were distributed during July last year to April this year. So Nepal is at the birthplace of Buddha and Buddhism, where Lord Buddha was born at the sacred area of Lumbini, which is now known as the Lumbini Garden, which is located in the southern western part of Nepal. But sadly, the birthplace of Buddha was also not able to suppress this wave of the pandemic. When the second wave of the pandemic broke out in India this year, Nepal, neighboring country of India, was also affected, where it was straining an even smaller, less resource health system. This virus has even reached to Mount Everest, where the climbers have fallen ill. Following the outbreak in Nepal, its medical system collapsed, resulting in an increased demand of medical supplies, even like oxygen, medicine, ventilators, PPE. There was so much to mention. So at this time of the pandemic, what can Tzu Chi do, where we are 3,700 kilometers away from the birthplace of Buddha? So there are actually 7 provinces in Nepal. During this year COVID-19 relief work with little volunteers, only 6 volunteers from 3 provinces were able to provide their support and collaborated with Tzu Chi headquarters to carry out this relief work to each of the represented beneficiary and organizations. So they've given us, these volunteers has given Tzu Chi the opportunity to continuously send great love to the birthplace of Buddha. And in this year COVID-19 pandemic relief work, Tzu Chi charity steps have traveled across to the 6 provinces in Nepal, and we assisted 48 different organizations, and these organizations includes like government organizations, medical organizations, charity organizations, even Tibetan Buddhist organizations. So was it very difficult to carry out these immediate relief work? Yes, in fact, each relief work we will always encounter different difficulties and challenges, and there are no exception to this time as well. For example, there were different transportation restrictions because there were like curfews due to the pandemic lockdown in each cities. And then at that time, around June, Nepal have entered to their rain season. So the words were very muddy, and then some of the words were like very hard to travel on. So it was very hard to reach from one place to the other. And also like custom clearance, because each country have their own regulations. And I remember at that one time in the beginning during May, one of our first oxygen concentrators that were sent to Nepal have reached the airport, but our collaborating partners couldn't find this cargo at the airport. So we had to actually send our volunteers to go in and help our partners to look for this cargo at the airport. And there were also many communication challenges, even though we were using the same language to communicate with, we were using English. But I think due to the culture differences, there are still some misunderstanding between the messages and informations we were exchanging to one another. But we were able to overcome these challenges because we had a few vocals volunteers locally, which assisted us and then stood by our side and worked with us closely to overcome these challenges. And then I believe with love, we can do anything locally. So let's bring everyone back to Tsuji's affinity in Nepal. We were grateful that Tsuji has created affinities in Nepal over the past few years, from the Nepal flood in 1993 to the 7.8, I think, magnitude earthquake in 2015. So Tsuji at that time stepped into the birthplace of Buddha in Nepal and provided aid to the country and helped its citizens to reconstruct their homes. Where actually our Tsuji volunteers flew there back and forth so many times. And I know a few of our brothers, sister from Philippines were also engaged in this program. So this allowed Tsuji's great love and then compassion to cross beyond borders and then led the people of Buddha's birthplace to be benefited both physically and mentally. And at that time, through these support, we were able to plant the seed of love, and then this seed of love has sprouted and grew strong, and then actually assisted us in many charitable projects year after year. So there are a lot of stories that we are able to share to everyone today on the relief work we have carried out this year. Firstly, we would like to thank to Brother Mukunda from Kathmandu for his continued support. He was one of the volunteers who we met during the 2015 relief work in Nepal after the earthquake. So when Tsuji this year provided food relief to Pandai orphanage, this year, he was able to help us with a lot of work, because I think the traveling restrictions and curfews, and there were like curfews for the delivering trucks during the pandemic lockdown. There was a lot of challenges to send these goods to the Pandai orphanage. And then our delivery truck was also stopped by the police. And then only that, the goods will only be able to deliver at 11 o'clock at night. But we were grateful for Brother Mukunda. He was in close contact with the driver and waited at the orphanage until 11 o'clock at night to ensure the food packages were delivered safe. Besides providing like emergency relief aid, we were also able to provide midterm relief program to Pandai orphanage, where we were able to re-renovate their orphanage. We did the wall construction, the pavement work outside, as you can see on the picture. And also at the back, we reconstructed a very steady boundary wall for them, which prevented the mudslide during the rain season. So we are able to provide a safer home environment for the children and the staff at the orphanage. Just to go back to the delivery story, yes. Actually, that day, during the delivery of the food packages, Brother Mukunda, he was actually not feeling too well, but he insisted to stay at the orphanage till 11 o'clock. And then because he said that it is his duty to serve Tzu Chi diligently and also with compassion. And then actually Brother Mukunda it was sadly to hear that he was tested positive in September the 13th this year, and he was admitted to the isolation center. But when he was at the isolation center, he did not miss any opportunity where he could go online and learn about Tzu Chi. And also when he was actually admitted out from the isolation center on the 30th of September, in the afternoon, he immediately went to TUTH, which is a hospital we've been actually, it's a program that we are helping the TUTH hospital with their dialysis room. And then he went to TUTH to receive the dialysis machine and also to donate these machines to the hospital. So we are very thankful for Brother Mukunda for cherishing every learning and serving opportunity. There's another story we'd like to share is the medical assistant at the Manang area of Nepal. So Sister Cho Yang is another Tzu Chi volunteer who we encountered during the Nepal earthquake. And she also joined us this year for the medical assistant program for the pandemic, where she assisted the distribution of the medical supplies in the remote area of Manang. As we know that Nepal contains some of the most rugged and difficult mountain terrain in the world, and roughly 75% of the country is covered by mountains. And then one of the most difficult roads to travel in the world is in Manang. So our medical supplies that we were wanting to support locally were not able to be transported by trucks or train like easily. So our medical equipment were first transported from Pokhara, which is a more centralized city at that province of Manang, to Chamen, where we can see at the map. And then it was transported by truck. Then the medical equipment was transported from Chame to Mapambumi. Initially, they were planning to transport these medical supplies by donkeys, but I think during the rain seasons, the road conditions were not that great. So they thought that they will send porters to carry these goods, and it will be the safest way to carry these goods. So from the map, we see Sister Cho Yang with the porter spent actually 5 days walking from Chame to Mapambumi, where the PPE materials and 2 oxygen concentrators, were able to deliver to the most remote health post in Mapambumi in the Manang district, and which was 4,200 meters above sea level. So we can see they had a nice hike there. But when we asked Sister Cho Yang, why were you willing to do this? Even though we know that it's so tiring. And then amongst the porters and all the group of people that were traveling, she was the only female. We asked her, why were you willing to do this? She actually told us, as a public social worker, it is her responsibility to care for the health of the community. We were also thankful for Brother Mahesh for helping Tzu Chi Foundation to communicate with the Ministry of Health and Population, and he assisted in the custom clearance of the 9 chartered flights of PPE and medical supplies, and helped us to donate to the ministry in Nepal, where these materials were distributed to the most needed hospitals and organizations. So besides providing medical equipment, Tzu Chi Foundation have also had a project of sewing cloth face mask. So we are grateful for a group of volunteers who actually helped us in donating medical supplies to the birthplace of Buddha. And at this time of the pandemic, we have our Maitri Bante from International Buddhist Association of Lumbini. He organized this program to sew 150,000 cloth face masks last year. And then this program is still under still in progress. And then these programs will benefit schools and frontline security personnel, and also provide skills training for the local women and also increase their income. So we're also very thankful for Maitri Bante. When he was to ensure like the quality of the cloth mask, Maitri Bante, he's actually very old. He insisted in going in town and physically going to the neighboring city to purchase the sewing materials. So there's a story that we can share about the beneficiary of this program, which is Manisa. She's 18 years old. And then she also joined us for the program. She actually lives with her parents and sibling, and her father is 50-year-old, where he actually worked in India for the past 20 years in order to build this house that you see on the picture. Yes, on this picture that they're living in right now, because of the pandemic, the father had to go out and look for daily labor work. And then the father also has high blood pressure. So he has to be on medication. So because of this, only the sister at home is able to continue to go to school. And Manisa, she only completed her 10th year grade education, but because the family could not afford more children to go to school, so she actually left school, and then she left school. Yes. Okay. So actually, Tsiji skill training and sewing cloth mask program in Lumbini brought hope to Manisa. According to our project coordinator, Mr. Manuki, during this program, Manisa actually earned about 30,000 rupees, where she sewed around 6,600 masks, and this allowed her to go back to school. So Manisa was able to complete her 11th grade this year through online courses, and then she's actually currently waiting for exam results. If she scores well, she may continue to study to the 12th grade. However, because a lot of money was spent during the online courses and on internet, so she doesn't have much money left to continue to the 12th grade. But we're thankful for Maitri Bante, because he actually proposed to Tsiji another program where Tsiji in October started sponsoring an early childhood education course in Lumbini, where actually Manisa, she was involved in this program, where she's working now for this program where she prepares the food and help to serve for the children, where she can still earn a little bit of living and then help her to continue to her studies. So from this picture, we can see that even though Maitri Bante is old, but we are very thankful for having him to guard and care for the birthplace of Buddha in Lumbini. So Lumbini is guarded by Bante Maitri. Now let's take a look at the southern part of Nepal. In fact, not just the health of millions of people in Nepal were affected by the pandemic, but also a lot of people are facing hunger and malnutrition problems. And then located at the southern part of Nepal, there are actually a group of Dalit people, which they are the very bottom class of the society, not just in India, but also in Nepal. The main reason of their poverty is that they do not have their own land, and even their homes are built on the land of their landlords. And all the crops that they harvest and the labor work they do by the Dalit families, only 20% of the harvest could be kept by them, or they could only earn 2.3 kilograms of rice per day by their landlords. So the rest of what they earned must be given to their landlord. So this tradition has been passed from generation to generation. So they have a lot of difficulty to change their lives. So here you can see the home conditions of the Dalits. This is their roof, and this is their bed and their kitchen. So thanks we would like to thank again to Brother Mukunda from Kathmandu, which actually brought DSMN and Tsiji together last year, where we cooperated together with DSMN, Brother Bola and Amit to carry out relief distributions in the southern Nepal last year. And we were able to also go back to our Great Love village in its neighboring province in Sub-Saharan Siraha for distribution last year, where 26,000 food packages were distributed last year. And this year we are continuing our collaboration with DSMN, which we are carrying out around 58,000 food aid distribution in the southern part of Nepal. So every time when we see there's a disaster, we can deeply feel that everyone's love and support and contribution is involved. And we are grateful for everyone's love and every Tsiji volunteer's love around the world for allowing Tsiji great love being spread at the home of Buddha. And then we hope that we are able to spread more seeds of great love and invite more volunteers to join the journey of charity and compassion and to join the path of Bodhisattva. Thank you very much. Now we pass our sharing to Brother Johnson.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning. So my name is Johnson, and thank you, Sister Natalia, for sharing about the stories of Nepal. And as we can see on this slide here, in fact, it's not just in Nepal, but we've had these Tsiji volunteers who on the ground assisting our project since the very beginning, all the way from Cambodia, Laos, Bangladesh, of course, Nepal, Sri Lanka, and of course in India, and India being the most severely impacted country, as Sister Tiffany shared, was a heavy focus of how do we grow local Tsiji presence in a country where there are no active Tsiji volunteers. So today I'd like to share with you some stories from India of these three brothers, Tsiji brothers. They're not family brothers, but right from not knowing Tsiji nearly 12 months ago until now, where they're actively involved in the community, representing Tsiji to deliver Master's compassion and love and our care materials, how this process has eventuated. So the first person's story I'd like to share with you is so it's just a map of where we are. So this is a map of where the three brothers all live. So to the east in Mumbai and Pune, we have Sister Pravin. In the south, a city called Bangalore, we have Brother Girish. And in the north, in Delhi, which is the capital city of India, and also in a country to the west, Bodh Gaya, which is in fact the place where Buddha achieved enlightenment, we have Brother Vivek. So these three Tsiji brothers are now our three Tsiji seeds in India. So Brother Pravin, he actually first met Tsiji in 2015 on a visit to Taiwan. You can see on the photo on the left here, he's in the red tie with his family, visited Jingsi abode and met Master Cheng Yen at that time. And after returning to India, he always had Tsiji on his mind, but there was never a true opportunity to see how he could implement Tsiji's philosophy and Tsiji's work in India until last year when COVID severely struck India and Tsiji Taiwan. We were looking all over the world at how we could assist the situation. And in India, we remembered this Tsiji brother who had visited us, and we asked him to see if he was willing to become more involved in the community, to send care and materials to the needy. So in 2020, Brother Pravin began to do kit distributions and represent Tsiji in India. And so we can see that through his journey, he went from not doing a single distribution at all in the last 5 years to in 2020, he actually helped over 4,000 families with these food kits materials. And he was able to do this because he was looking at how he could help the community by leveraging other resources as well, because he is one person and he would not be able to do all the work by himself. So he actually connected with a community organization called ABM, who are a local charity organization with 36 years of experience, and very similar to Tzu Chi. In fact, they also collect small donations and as their main primary source of funding. So a small local organization like ABM, through Brother Pravin, was able to connect to Tzu Chi, and with our global resources, we were able to help these families in India, specifically in the Pune and Mumbai area. So, and because he had never done any distributions before, we had to share with him online on how we can do this type of distributions. Usually in a country that is new to Tzu Chi, Taiwan will be able to send a team of representatives to the local, to the area, and then to teach them and guide everyone how to do this distribution. But because of COVID, on the travel restrictions, Taiwan was not able to send any representatives. So we could only coach Brother Pravin through online. So we told him, please stick to all the COVID restrictions, and let's do some door-to-door distributions, small gatherings. So you can see that he borrowed these centers, community centers, and laid out all the material very neatly. And so we also still have our humanistic culture. And for those who are unable to come to the centers, we had this truck go over and visit different villages to make sure everyone was still safe while receiving the food kit that they needed. And so Brother Pravin always had Tzu Chi and Master in mind, even though we were not there in person. So Master Chen Yen offered a letter of condolences and care. And so Brother Pravin made sure that a photo of Buddha was displayed. The second photo there is a well-known Buddhist faith leader in India. And then also Tzu Chi's letter and banner was always present at every distribution that he conducted. And he made sure that Tzu Chi's letter was translated from English into the local language and then read aloud at every distribution. So everyone knew that the care came not from him and not from ABM, not from the people there, but in fact from the whole global Tzu Chi community. Yeah. And Brother Pravin also led the volunteers from ABM to grasp every opportunity to connect with Taiwan through our online learnings, just like our Philippine brothers and sisters who often also connect to Taiwan's camps, conferences, or also the Sunday the diligent sessions as well. And he was very keen to learn more about Tzu Chi and especially to hear Master's teachings online in real time. And we can see that through this type of connection about our charity work, but also about our Tzu Chi spirits, we were able to lead these volunteers on and for them to show this type of gratitude, respect, and love at our distributions. So all of them lined up very neatly and in a line and with their palms together to thank all the beneficiaries for giving them this opportunity. Just like Master always teaches us, we should be grateful and thankful to these people to give us the opportunity to serve them and for us to cultivate ourselves through this type of charity work. So we're able to see even our Indian brothers and sisters who had only known Tzu Chi for only a few weeks at that time, they were able to pick up this type of Tzu Chi spirit as well. And so for Brother Pravin himself, in fact, we didn't know about this until later. He managed a small company that he operated, and it was also severely impacted by COVID during the whole economic crisis. And in fact, some of his close relatives also lost their lives through Tzu Chi. But Brother Pravin, although he had all the Tzu Chi resources, food kits, medical materials, always offered these to more needy communities and put his own personal challenges aside and still participated in many of our distributions and went to the donations conferences to donate on behalf of Tzu Chi this type of medical material to the hospitals and health institutions. And even though he had families at home who were sick or even passed away, he put these aside and told us that this is what life is. That was how life was meant to be. But I can use my own life at Master's direction to help more of the people of India. And so we were very touched by Brother Pravin's vows and his heart to serve the greater community, even though he met this type of personal challenges. And next, I'd like to share with you Brother Vivek. So Brother Vivek is actually from the birthplace of Buddhism, so Bodh Gaya, and that's his hometown. And he's a very young volunteer in his 30s. And in fact, he speaks a little bit of Chinese. And how did we get to become acquainted with him was actually through one of his Taiwanese friends. And his Taiwanese friend is actually called George. And Mr. George Lan, at that time, he was a businessman working in Taiwan and had prior experience doing business in India. And he's contacted Tzu Chi and said, hey, I have a friend in India. And if Tzu Chi would like to help India, maybe my friend can help you. And in fact, now through this connection, Mr. George, he has actually become a colleague of Natalia and myself working in the International Affairs Office. So not only has Brother Vivek, who he introduced, joined Tzu Chi, but George himself also now is Tzu Chi staff and volunteer as well. But Brother Vivek, through the connection of George, met Tzu Chi and actually, in fact, started organizing distributions. And his first distribution was a family was for 370 families in Bodh Gaya. And we can see this type of connection realizes the Sutra of Innumerable Meanings, and how Master often preaches is we can go from one to infinity. So from one George to Vivek and to this 370 families. And this love is still ongoing because Brother Vivek invites his sister and his brother to join, and his families and volunteers to join him in this distribution. So more and more the community is being involved. And we can see that this type of compassion and love in India as well, even though they have just met Tzu Chi, but they understand how to be equal and to be indifferent to every single culture, and no matter whether they are disabled or whether they're healthy or whether they are poor or whether they're rich, they serve them with the same type of respect. If you can play the video for me on the last slide, we can see this disabled lady who is not able to stand, and our brothers are able to serve her and make sure she is able to accomplish all the processes together to reach all of the work that's needed. And our brothers are there, and they realize that she's unable to walk, so they lead her on from station to station. We can look fast forward a little bit as well. Oh. No? Okay, that's all right. We'll move on from there and can see in the photo here. So at every distribution, Brother Vivek always brings this portrait of Master Cheng Yen and sets up a special station for the portrait and to introduce Master Cheng Yen to all the beneficiaries. And this beautiful photo here of a young Indian lady showing her respect to Master Cheng Yen here. And or even the photo when not at the distribution center, Brother Vivek puts this in his house and has a special place to recognize his face and how he has come to meet Tzu Chi and meet Master Cheng Yen. And he has also pledged himself to Master Cheng Yen and said whatever is needed in India, he will do on behalf of Tzu Chi and to represent Tzu Chi there. Our third brother, Brother Girish, is in fact a local charity entrepreneur. So he already was organizing charity activities in his community, and he met Tzu Chi through actually online emailing. He emailed Johnson, and we were able to connect that way. And so we're able to use the resources that he had on the ground and his friends, and to use that in connection with Tzu Chi to upscale and increase how much work he was doing. But he also learned the Tzu Chi way as well, our Tzu Chi path, rising early to conduct the PPE distributions. And at this occasion, he was helping the street cleaners who did not have any masks or gloves or sanitizers, but had to clean the dirtiest and most dangerous areas of his community in Bangalore. And he converted his own home into a packing station for all the food kits. So his living room was transformed into a warehouse and storage, and his family helped him pack all of these kits as well. And he also carried the bamboo spear, not only connecting small donations at the distribution, but also he learned how to use this small change to create great love. He was very tech savvy, so very smart with his technology. So he actually booked the small truck for the distribution through a mobile app. And then through the app communicating with the driver. He told him, this is for charity, you must come and help. So the driver actually became his only laborer and helper at the distribution to help move the kids, which were over 30 or 40 kilograms heavy. And through his story, Brother Girish shared with us, he said he's very thankful to meet Tzu Chi, and he never thought one day he would be able to meet such a charity organization. He always conducted charity activities by himself in the community with his few friends and never knew how to sustain it. But now he has met Tzu Chi. It is like this flower that grows on his rooftop. He says, this is God's lotus that blossoms once a year, and it blossomed today just as I met Tzu Chi. And he bows at Master Chen Yan's feet and for her blessings to do the right things. And he pledges himself to Tzu Chi's activities and Tzu Chi's mission in India. Even though these three brothers had only just started Tzu Chi over 12 months ago, but through the 12 months, we can see how they grow from someone who knew nothing about Tzu Chi, but they had to carry Master's mission of giving back to Buddha's homeland in India. And and we can see that Master always used this type of teachings about the value of life to encourage us. And we also shared these teachings with our brothers in India, and it is to increase the value of life by carrying the responsibilities of humanity. If we worry about these things, it will not resolve them. These responsibilities are not only for one individual to carry either. We must all carry this responsibility and collaborate and leverage and work with each other. If we all elevate how we value our lives and we work together in unity, the society will be able to achieve peace. And our brothers in India have taken this into action, not only listening to Master's teaching, but realizing them on the ground there as well. So just sharing with you some of the brothers, the stories of the brothers in Tzu Chi. And like you, they are also undergoing training at the moment as well. And perhaps one day, the Filipino brothers you'll be able to, and sisters will be able to connect with our brothers in India and work with each other and grow together as well. Thank you. And we'll pass back to Tiffany for our closing.
Thank you very much, Johnson and Natalia, for the wonderful sharing. Just before we end, we have a quick question for the both of you. So during this time, it's all very difficult and there's many challenges and barriers. So as we all know, we take refuge under Master Zheng Yan, which is the founder of Buddhist Tzu Chi Foundation, but also our teacher and our guide. So can you all share with me like the one maybe memorable moment or a quote you had with Master and during this project, and how that has encouraged you to keep continuing and to be able to serve more people?
Yeah, definitely. I think through this project, we were very fortunate to often be in Master's presence and in Master's teaching. And I always remember Master always, nearly at every single address to us, she would remind us that the pandemic is caused by humanity, and that is the great teaching under this pandemic. So we must remember it is the human and our responsibility to rectify the situation in this special times, and we must pass this message on to all of our collaborative partners, whether it is our new Tzu Chi volunteers in Nepal or India or our charity organization partners, for them to also preach this concept. And only then, when the community stands up, we can overcome this terrible situation that is COVID-19. So we always remember to speak about this great teaching and to encourage everyone to pass this message on. And I hope all the brothers and sisters here can also remember this as well and share this information so that everyone knows it is up to us to carry this responsibility and fix this situation. Natalia, how about you? What was your most memorable moment with Master?
My most memorable moment with Master is, I think not just during this pandemic, but I think in other videos, every time where there's a disaster relief, Master always tells us that even though there are challenges and there are difficulties, but Master always say this in Chinese, that 信即无私，信人有爱. So it's like we need to believe that we ourselves are selfless, and then and believe that everyone has great love. So that even during the construction of Hope project in Taiwan and I don't know, the 1999, in 1999 in Taiwan, Master said this, and even until today, for during this pandemic, Master have been telling us that we need to believe that we are selfless and that everyone has great love. And that if we're willing to do anything, we're willing to take the responsibility to give and benefit others from the society, we are selfless. And then we must also believe that everyone has a kind and loving nature, that everyone has love. And then this will allow love to be endless. So this is what I remember the most. So going back to the challenges, so I wanting to ask Sister Tiffany, so what are the challenges with working with interfaith collaboration, and how did you overcome with these difficulties and challenges?
Thank you, Sister Natalia, and thank you, Brother Johnson. So the challenges, of course, we talked many challenges before about all the barriers, language, time, and of course, faith as well. But I think the biggest thing is how we overcome them. And actually, Master teaches us that, we must all have the same collective knowledge first. And with the connective knowledge, we must understand each other and have that understanding between an agreement of what we want to do. And most importantly, after this agreement, we must go forward and act upon these agreements. And I think this is the same, no matter if it's interfaith or if it's other collaborators, our partners, or even within our own organization. So we must get together and we must know that what is happening, like Brother Johnson said, this is a lesson for humanity, but have we actually taken on this lesson? Do we understand what this lesson is teaching us? And then we must believe that everybody is selfless and everybody can go forward and everybody is on the same page. And when we have this same understanding, then we can act upon it and then we can go forward and help those people. So although there are so many challenges, but as long as we can follow Master's teachings and we can put Dharma into our daily lives, then we can move forward together, because one person may not be enough, but together we can do more. And we can, like the story of Bamboo Bank, $1, $2 is not a lot, but if we pull together our love and pull together our charitable goods, we can help more people and we can spread love across the world. So we only have a few more minutes, 1 minute each. So I'd like to ask everybody for a closing statement or a closing word that you'd like to share with everyone.
Yeah, so thank you, everyone. And I hope the stories from India and Nepal that we have shared today will be able to inspire you the way we have. Just imagine you live in the country that's most severely impacted by COVID, which is India, and all around you, death and sickness is happening every day. Yet, our brothers, our Catholic brothers and sisters, and our charity partners, and our own Tzu Chi brothers there are putting themselves in the front line to help those who are in need, regardless of how dangerous it is around them. They make the right protection, and they heed Master's advice that protecting yourself will enable you to help others. And I think the most important thing is they have realized the teachings of gratitude, respect, and love, to realize our own blessings and learn that how fortunate we are to be able to help others. And they carry this mission in action. And I'm always very impressed and admiring of their actions and courage. And I think all of us can take away from them this type of spirit when we're conducting our own Tzu Chi work in our own communities. So thank you, everyone, for your time today. And Sister Natalia, would you like to finish for us?
Thank you, everyone, for listening to our sharing today. And then we would really like to thank to all our sisters and brothers from India and Nepal, and also from around the world. Because of everyone, every single seed of love, we are able to allow Tzu Chi to carry out all these charitable work around the world. So thank you very much, everyone.
So thank you, everybody, for joining us today. And lastly, I think one of the things is believe in yourself and believe in the teachings that we have received, and also believe that there is love in this world. So this is universal love of everyone and love from everyone. So if we can, in our own areas, maybe there's not a lot of people, like in India, there's not a lot of brothers and sisters, but there are so many more people out there with the same love and the same thoughts, good thoughts. So thank you everyone for the great work that you've done in your local areas. And I hope that we can continue to spread love and to spread trust and to help the community become better together. Thank you very much.